All right, we're back at it again. Once again, it's been a while since I've done an episode, but thank you for coming on the Blacklisted MX. We got Justin from Moto Pops. How you doing today, Jay?
Real good. Real good. How about you?
I'm doing real good, man. I'm doing real good. It feels good to be back, man, and it feels good to actually get you on the program, man. I like to hear what you guys are all about and what you represent. Um, I know you're based out of Michigan. You spend quite a few years racing in Michigan. You guys got some good riders coming out of that area. Quite a few sand tracks and whatnot. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Nick Way's from Michigan. Was
Oh
he
yeah.
part of that whole Michigan Mafia thing?
You know, he probably I don't know. I think he'd agree. He was the Michigan Mafia. He started. I feel well. I shouldn't say that. He just made a really big deal about it. I think the Michigan Mafia has been around since like the '70s.
Oh
Like
wow.
Eddie Warren and the Bigelows and some of the guys back in the '70s and then into the '80s. The Swingster and John
Hmm.
Kitch and those guys. But I think Nick and Josh Woods and the Valade brothers and some of those guys kind of brought back the Michigan Mafia. Back in the day was wear red gloves.
Oh really?
Yeah, that was like a gang sign. I think part of their gang sign.
Oh shit, I never knew that, huh?
Yeah.
I was just thought it was moto related, man. But
No.
but I know you spent quite a few years growing up and racing in Michigan. How was it growing up when you were riding and racing back then?
It's cool, man. Michigan had a good scene. We had a lot of cool tracks. I mean, some tracks that are no longer around. Mustang Acres was a cool one in Brighton. Obviously we got Red Bud, Bulldogs. Portland MX is a cool track. We got a lot of cool tracks. The scene was cool. Man, I remember just recently looking through some archives, like some Loretta archives, and man, back in the '80s and '90s, it wasn't uncommon to see 8, 10, 12, 15 guys, from Michigan, let alone, the fast track, the fast classes like the A classes. The top 10 was littered with Michigan riders. So we had a really cool, it was competitive. There were some kids back in the day like that never even, I don't even think they kept racing off of mini bikes that were super super fast. So Michigan was a cool scene, man. There was a lot of dirt bike presence here.
You even hit the pro class and rode for a while, right?
I don't know if we'd call it that, but it was a lot. Let's just say this: I feel like it was maybe a little bit easier to get your pro card back then. But
Okay.
yeah, I did. I was a late bloomer. I raced a little when I was younger, but then really hit it hard in my late teens and early 20s, and was able to get my pro card and tried for some nationals, tried a couple supercrosses, and it was fun. I wish, obviously looking back, I could have done things a little differently. I would have
Yeah.
done things a little differently, but yeah, it was fun, man. And I think it helped because even now till being a little bit older, I really hit it hard the last few years and had some fun with it too.
Nice. That's good, man. It's always good to kind of trace your roots and go back and think about how things were. Even like in my times, man, I wish I could have changed some things to better my program, but those memories will still stick with me no matter what,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
something
Well,
to think about.
that's the importance of if you preach. I like. Yeah, I listened to an interview with Brian Deegan the other day, and he said one of the biggest, strongest traits that Hayden has is that he listens to everybody. He takes that and he listens to what they say, and he uses you
Hmm.
know people with experience. I'm going to tell you what, experience trumps everything, and
Oh
so
yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
important to
Yeah.
listen.
Oh yeah, he's definitely he's got a lot of people probably getting into his ear, and he's got a lot of good positive things, people who to actually listen to, because just being a Deegan, he's got to carry that name, and and now it's pretty much on him, and
Oh
he's doing
yeah,
a damn good job doing it too.
he is. Like I said, I got you know how I feel. It's funny being in the industry. I watch kids, and I think he's a really good rider. I don't know how much I probably don't even need to get into it, but I like his riding style. He's aggressive and he's fast, man. So
I have to say he grew on me, man, because
yeah,
he had a lot of hype coming in, and I don't always jump on the bandwagon at first. I kind of just let things air out, and I was like, oh, give him a couple years. He kind of went through that whole jumping into the Supercross and the futures, and then he came out, and then I was like, when he came to the pros, and I was like, okay, he's fast. Let me really start focusing on how really good this kid is as a rider, and he's
Yeah.
just been developing and developing, and he's he's in the title fight, so he's
Yeah.
a damn good rider.
So there you go. I'm a McAdoo fan, though. I really like that kid.
Mhm.
I think he's got a good program. And
Oh
man,
yeah.
I tell you what, anybody who can take some of the crashes that he's taken and said keep going.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the one in Atlanta, was it Atlanta that one year? Like that kid, I like him. So I was really bummed when I saw he got hurt. And I kind of know Levi a little bit from hanging around at some of the races when he was an amateur. So I'm a big
Mhm.
Levi fan too. So I'm pulling for him this weekend.
No, right on, right on. All right, let's get a little bit more into this interview. As a person, kind of what we're talking about now, but as a person who rode for many years out of Michigan and turned pro, how do you feel like the sport has evolved from back then up until now? Because I had this conversation with Mike Treadwell a while back, and a lot of times, we were talking about how the sport to some of these kids as Deegan, everything is kind of given to them. And then you got some kids who don't have nothing, who make something out of nothing. How do you feel like the sport is, because it's almost catered to like guys who have it all? And it seems like, on many podcasts now, it's like about the privateers. I think you even posted something about some of these privateers. It was a guy on Gypsy Tales who was saying, doesn't want any privateers around, but they're the backbone of the sport, man. How do you feel the sport has evolved, and where do you think it's going to go with some of these privateers and these younger kids coming up?
Uh, you know, I th- I feel pretty strongly about that because I've always been, um, growing up, we didn't have a lot. Like I didn't have some of the opportunities that these kids do now. Not that it doesn't bother me, because everybody's, you deal with the hand that you're dealt, right? That's what you play with. But I think it's tough because unless your parents are able to, you got to have 5 bikes. You got to have a big mover. You got to live at a training facility nowadays to be competitive. And you're right, it pushes out people who natural talent has nothing to do with money.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. You can be a millionaire. You're still not going to be as fast as the kid who's got the raw talent. So I think, and that's a great point from what we were talking about earlier. I think the raw talent and some of the riders from Michigan back in the day was so thick that it didn't take what it does now.
Mhm.
Monetarily, two strokes were cheaper. I mean, man, you used to pull into a track and it was all pickup trucks and old conversion vans with the seats ripped out, and now you go to the track and if you're in a van, people kind of look, you got to be in a high top Sprinter for people to think that you're cool, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's tough because, and that's funny. I just heard something about that. Somebody was just sent me something on Instagram about this guy who said there doesn't need to be any privateers. And I thought, I mean, yeah, the privateers probably aren't the ones that are, filling the stands, but that's, that's crazy to me for that anybody to say that
Mhm.
there should be privateers. We try to help privateers out actually if we can. I mean, we're not a huge company yet, but anything we can do to help some guys out, whether it's $500 or
Yeah.
maybe some product, whatever it is, if we can help them, we can. So yeah, it's tough. It's definitely I think some of the promoters with the whole Loretta's things, I did that the last few years and it's tough, man. It's expensive. If I look back at the money I spent to go to Loretta's, as a vet rider, it's all
Mhm.
pride right then. Nobody's picking me up. I'm not, nothing really crazy is happening to me. But man, the pressure to be a kid these days and to go and being around that kind of stuff, I saw a lot of the kids, wow, his parents, they own this, or his parents own that, or his grandpa was really wealthy and he gave him all the money to do this. Like, it's not, oh, this kid's dad's a postman, and his mom's a stay at home wife and they're living at, GPF. So that's tough. It really is, I think, for people, because unless you have those resources nowadays, how do you compete? You have to compete on raw talent, but once the money runs out, getting to these races and doing these things, what do you turn to?
Yeah, yeah, and that's where these big sponsors kind of play a part for some of these race teams now, and that's what kind of makes minor league into major league, because when you have these fast kids coming up, they have to have these corporate sponsors to be able to carry these teams, to be able to get these guys to the race. And when these privateers don't have that, and they're selling shit and they're doing whatever it takes, they're staying with buddies, they're riding out together with 3 bikes. It's really the backbone of the sport to the pros, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think without the privateers, it just wouldn't be the same. It definitely
No,
wouldn't be the same.
no. And to that point too, I think I've seen a lot of kids. I know a lot of kids who didn't have everything that, you know what, there's a fight inside them. There's a fight inside, somebody who didn't have everything to go out because it means more.
Yeah.
If you give a kid a mover and 6 bikes and send them off to a training facility and say, hey, we'll see you later. Yeah, if that kid's determined enough and he has some fight in it, he'll do it. But if he loses, if a bike blows up, if he gets a flat and he doesn't make it, does it hurt as much? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where I always question where
Mhm.
as the kid who he did everything, his parents did gave the last dollar to get to that race. Maybe he works a little harder. I think that's a great topic of debate. And I definitely side on the fact of, I like the underdog story. I always have.
Yeah.
I like the ones less hype, more fight.
Yeah, for sure. I know you're big on nutrition in the sport of motocross and just in general. Break down what Moto X Pops is all about.
Yeah. So Moto X Pops, Moto Pops, however you want to say it. We just so you know, we actually are going to go with Moto Pops. We
Okay.
started with Moto X Pops, but whether you search Moto X Pops or Moto Pops, it's still going to be the same. But
Mhm.
yeah, we just had an idea. I'm not going to take all the credit. Actually, my partner Todd was with the one with the idea. We've been friends for 20 plus years, and we kind of put down an idea for something not something healthier, something hydration, something recovery, um, to be at the track other than a Gatorade or something with additives and something with fillers and genetically modified ingredients. So we had an idea for a freeze pop. You're racing, it's summertime. Who doesn't love a popsicle? I always used to say, well, kids love popsicles. I don't even think it's a thing about kids anymore. I have friends that are, my age in their 30s and their 40s, even into their 50s that, hey, give me a popsicle. Who doesn't want a cold, refreshing popsicle after a nice hot moto? So we went a little further, added some electrolytes to them. We have a vitamin mix that has packed with some B vitamins, B3, B6, and B12.
Mhm.
And we use raw organic cane sugar. And the rest is all natural ingredients. So we have nothing that's bad for you in it. So it was just an idea that started about a year ago, and
Mhm.
it took a while to get off the ground. A lot of different recipes, a lot of trial and error, and we finally came up with one that works.
So the recipes you guys kind of altered yourself, or did you guys work with a nutrition? How did you guys come up with the master plan recipe, or do you guys have a few different recipes that you use for the pops?
Nope, everything's all the same. The popsicles are all the same, whether it's whatever flavor it is. So we have a blue raspberry, we have a blue raspberry, a fruit punch, and then a lemon ice. So like a lemonade. Everything's the same, just the flavoring's different on them, and they're all natural flavors, so nothing,
Okay.
nothing genetically modified or anything like that. But yeah, it's all the same. We worked with a company um, who took our idea and what we wanted. We had our guidelines and what we wanted in it, and we worked with them back and forth, and they were great to work with. I tell you what, there was times where I think the one lady there probably wanted to kill me because I was on the phone with her pretty much every day going, nope, this isn't it. I need to do this again. And she's probably going, oh my God, what are you doing? But yeah, well, like I said, but our biggest thing was how do we make this so that it's not harmful, so that it's actually good for you. And
Oh yeah.
people will probably always go, well, there's a lot of sugar in them. There's really not that much sugar in them, and raw cane sugar in moderation isn't bad for you. So that's kind of how we roll.
Okay, yeah. Me being a vegetarian, I've been a vegetarian for probably a little over 20 years now. And every time I grab something, that's one of the first things I'll do is I'll read the ingredients and see what
Oh
it
yeah,
is. Not to say that I'm 100% perfect all the time. I still fuck up, right?
for
But for
sure.
the most part, I'll read those labels just to see. And most of the shit you can't pronounce, you don't even know what it is, and it's got so many artificial flavors and colors, and it's like, what is this mess? And it almost kind of brings me to my point where, like, where do you how do you find your trial and error? Do you have a guy, say you're at the track and you got a stand put up and the guy comes in for the 20-minute moto, he's just running a moto, and you give him one of these things? How long does it take him to actually recuperate, or have you ran any tests on that as far as those bases?
Well, we haven't really done any tests. We so far our trial and error has been we give them to some of our friends to try. We've given them to a couple athletes. We have a buddy who's a runner who's tried them, and actually his feedback was he was having some problems with hydration,
Mhm.
recovery, and as he started running and eating these things on a regular basis, he said he could feel better. I
Nice.
guess I probably really didn't ask him if it was time wise, but he said after his running, after he was doing his activity, he said he felt better off it. So I think it's the same with everything. Everybody's bodies are different. Everybody's going to react a little differently to it. But
Mhm.
if anybody out there that's listening has been to the gym, or let's say you rode a hot moto and you got off and you were like, oh my gosh, I feel a little lightheaded and stuff. A sugar spike for your insulin is good, right? So the sugar
Mhm.
that we have in it is good for you. The B vitamins are going to help with that recovery, and the electrolytes are going to put water back into your body. So whether it takes 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 20 minutes, it's something that's going to make you feel good afterwards,
Mhm.
something that's going to refresh you. So, you know, I don't think, um, I probably should do that. I'm glad you said that, because that's probably a good idea, just to get a little feedback on people, like how long did it take you to feel better. But
Mhm.
everybody that we've gotten our feedback from really said they felt the difference. They really like the taste. We're getting huge reviews on the taste. We sent them out to a few privateers. We got a girl who fights MMA who we
Mhm.
have been in contact with. She really likes them, and I think Ashley from Shred MX, correct?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did a podcast with her recently, and her and her husband Phil were pretty juiced on him too. She said she had. I think she said she was trying to hide him in the freezer so that he wouldn't take it. I'm gonna have to send her some more, because I think they went through them already. But
Damn,
yeah,
damn.
so
So, what do you think of this, man? And we briefly touched on this subject before, and a lot of you guys don't know. We actually shot this interview. We tried shooting this interview last week, and I'm a week late on this interview, but I had some technical difficulties. But we're back at it again, and we're doing things correctly this time. But my question
that
for
was
you,
our parade lap.
yeah, right. But you got these pros, man, who are on their A game when it comes to physical fitness and nutrition all year long. They almost have to be. But then they're sponsored by these companies who, you already know where I'm going. They're sponsored by these companies. And I don't want to throw anybody on the underneath the bus, but it is what it is. You say Red Bull, you could say Rockstar, you could say Monster. All those drinks are full of sugar, full of caffeine, full of things that is not really good for your body. It's not really good for nutrition wise. And what are your thoughts on those guys that are promoting this product, being the athletes that they are, but they're promoting something that's not as good for
Oh, that's a tough one. I gotta watch myself, because I don't need anybody from Red Bull sending a hitman to
them?
visit me. Not that
Right.
they care, but that's a tough one, because having been around some of these top pro athletes and stuff, I know how diets, and especially nowadays with training, and these guys have mental coaches, diet coaches, health.
Yes.
A lot of them enlisting people like that. It's tough. It's marketing. This is what
Mhm.
the world's been based on, right? Market a product good, and you can go anywhere. I always, when I come to marketing, I always take Starbucks, for example. I think Starbucks
Mhm.
coffee is horrible, and probably people are going to shoot me for saying that. But I go, how is there a Starbucks on every corner, and it's $3 for a cup of coffee, right?
Mhm.
The same thing with some of these energy drinks. You're you're attacking the masses, which the same reason why there's only 100 people at a gym every day when there's 10,000 in the area. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people that don't know, and there's a lot of people that don't care.
Yeah.
So those companies are doing what they need to do to sustain. and they're doing it well. And I
Oh yeah.
always think back, you probably remember back in the day, you remember Camel sponsored Supercross.
Yes.
Camel
Yes.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
luckily guys weren't smoking cigarettes on the podium. That would have been probably kind of cool back then. But
Yeah, it's always marketing is right. How they market. They used to market like cigarettes were cool to smoke, but it was horrible
cigarettes
for
were
your health. But
cigarettes weren't bad for you when they came out. They
and,
weren't. Back in the day when they came out, cigarettes were cool. Smoke them. Oh
yeah,
no! I've
yeah,
always said I have a theory that I've always stuck with, and I was like, I wonder if down the road these energy drink companies are going to start going, oh well, this is causing this and this is causing this. Just like cigarettes, they didn't know cigarettes caused cancer.
yeah.
So,
It's all that stuff is image driven now, right? So it's like you put somebody cool on that label, or you put somebody cool in front of that, it's going to sell, and it's a good business plan, right? So.
yeah,
But
sure is.
unfortunately, that shit is not good for you, man. I remember when I used to work for Yoshimura, and Dungy was sponsored by him at the time, and it was Rockstar. And those guys used to drop off literally like cases of Rockstar. And guys were taking that stuff left and right, mixing it with vodka, rum, or the whole nine, whatever they were doing the party that weekend. But it was just like, man, why are you drinking this stuff, man? You guys even read any of the labels on that? And that was back then. I was reading labels,
Yeah.
and it's still to this day. Like, but if they approach me and Rockstar say, hey, we'll give you 20 grand a podcast episode, I'm gonna be scratching my head like shit,
Must there be a pretty cool banner behind you.
Right? Exactly.
I'll do you one better. When I was doing some of the nationals, do you ever remember Hanson's energy drink?
Hanson's. The name sounds familiar, but I don't recall it too well.
So there was a guy, I believe his name was Jason McCormick, and he
Mhm.
drove a motorhome that he worked for Spy,
Okay.
and he drove a Spy, and he also worked for Hanson's. And dude, you could go up to him and he'd give you 2-3 cases, walk back to your truck. Back then we were just like, cool, dude, energy drinks. You're young, like this is gonna be. I would drink 3, 4, 5 of them driving home because
Damn.
I didn't know. I wasn't that back then. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money to eat well and be doing everything great. And I didn't think they were that bad for you. But yeah, same. I've got buddies that still Red Bull vodka or Jägermeisters with Red Bull and stuff, and then they get home at night and they can't sleep and their heart's beating out of their chest and.
Exactly.
No
It's
thanks.
and then you see some of these riders, like I said, they make the podium, and I'm not shitting on these guys. It's business. Business is business. They got to get paid. Everybody got to get paid. But you'll see these riders make the podium, and they'll turn that label just perfect so you can see them, see the label, and they'll
They look
take
at
a
it.
drink.
They look at it to make sure the label's right.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
100 grand. 100
Yep.
grand.
And then they'll drink, but they're not really drinking it, man. So at the end of the day, it's all business, right? So
I was at High Point one year, and I don't drink. I wasn't drinking energy drinks after. And this is probably 06, 07 or something. And we walked up into the Monster Tower, and the guy's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I don't drink those." He goes, "You want a water?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got water?" He's like, "Yeah," and he gave me a can of Monster, and it said it was a blue or green. Remember, it was just blue and green back then. The Monsters, green was low carb or low sugar, and I goes, "No," and he goes, "No, there's water in it." I said, "Oh." I didn't know that. I cracked it open. I drank it. It was water. It was regular water, just water.
Oh
So
wow.
maybe that's what they're drinking up there.
Yeah, true that. I know. Moto Pops. You guys support riders of different classes. But do you guys cater to nutrition to each rider? Because everybody's nutrition is different, right? Everybody eats different. Everybody kind of however their body starts not to recover, but how can I put this? Based on my body, like I know how my body works, right? So I know exactly what to put into my body as opposed to what goes into yours. So how do you actually tailor to some of the riders that are at different levels?
Really, it's probably not really possible for us to do that right now. Maybe if we got into, having more of a training kind of site, but I would leave that more up to people like Ashley at Shred MX. She's great at that. That's what she went to school for. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as far as we go, with our product, it's just like anything else, whether it be a recovery drink or a protein shake or whatever that you're taking. Ours is very maybe it's like a one size fits all kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Eat our popsicle, and it's got potassium is known as an electrolyte, right? And
Yeah.
B vitamins are known for recovery and energy renewal, and so that's kind of how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that a long time ago. I would have loved to get into like MX coaching and sports nutrition
Yeah.
and stuff. They say that right now. I think that online fitness coaching is the number one growing um, like employment, like what people are doing to make
Mm-hmm.
money is like
Oh yeah.
online coaching, for online business, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, just for us, it's supporting some guys that we've made relationships with. My buddy Todd, my partner, is actually real big into that. He reaches out to a lot of people, and he's doing a lot of PR work for us. And
Okay.
we're going to do it again this year. We do a $500 privateer giveaway at the Redbud National. So last year we did it. Ezra Lewis was a rider. He actually works for Motocross Action now.
Okay.
He was the winner of it last year, so that was kind of cool to help him out to do his thing. And then this year we're going to do it again. Basically what it is we just ask the privateers to get involved with us, do some sharing, like our photos, repost some things, follow us, do
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff, and then they get put into a drawing, and then whoever wins. So it's pretty cool. I like doing that kind of stuff. Anything that we can do to help helps. I know it's not a $20,000 bonus structure or a salary and a commission bonus kind of thing, but hey, $500 to I was just talking at my regular job today. We had a spiff from one of our companies, and they were giving out
Mm-hmm.
$500 gift cards to salespeople, and I was thinking, I'll take $500 right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Shoot, tax-free money. Come on.
Right. So are you guys just go do the national? How somebody find you guys? How can somebody order some Moto Pops? Do they find you at the tracks mostly? Are you guys on a local level where you go to local races, or you just mainly do national stuff? How can someone get a hold of these Moto X Pops if they wanted some?
Definitely first hit us up at the website, which right now it's motoxpops.com, but it's going to be motopops.com. Maybe any one of these days. Actually, it's funny. The Moto Pops domain was taken when we started this a year ago,
Wow,
and it just came up for sale. My partner was watching and he goes, I got it. And I said, no, you didn't. He said, yep. So motoxpops.com, motopops.com. Go to our Instagram, which is motoxpops, motopops on Instagram. You can find us there. All the links lead back to the website where you can start ordering them. We got about 2 weeks, and I think we'll be back in stock to start shipping again.
Okay.
But yeah, for right now, we're just doing a local level, local tracks where we're going to sell them here. If you want them, you can get them online. Also, we'll be at various nationals.
Mm-hmm.
We're working out some details with that. We're also trying to do a little partner thing with possibly going to Loretta's this year and having a little stand down there. So yeah, it's accessible anywhere with at the touch of the fingers on your phone.
Right.
I'd love to be on Amazon. That'd be great. But yeah, right now, just the website and the Instagram. Go there. You can send us questions, comments, anything you want. Like us, follow us. We try to post some cool stuff, keep involved with people, and follow people back, and do all the things we can do.
Okay. Okay. Well, all right, Justin, man, I definitely appreciate your time. That was a quick little 15-20 minute moto I ran with you. It was
I
a
love it,
pleasure.
man. I don't even have arm pump right now.
All right. Definitely don't, man. But it was a good moto, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and we'll be in contact, brother, for sure.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having us. And like I said, this is cool, man. I like doing these kinds of things, just even if it's just to shoot the shit and talk about moto. But we really appreciate you having us on.